Yes, it's true, the hype for the OnePlus 12 has come and gone, but there's a lot of fierce competition on the market, and a successor to this is getting closer every single day. So this far down the road, this late in the game, is the OnePlus 12 still worth looking at? Let's talk about it. So I'm not gonna cover every single little detail about this phone because it's been out for a little bit, and you know what? Revisiting this was a very fresh and fun experience for me. I love OnePlus phones. I love the design here. Obviously not much has changed about the design when we compare it to last year's model, but that's not a big deal to me. Of course, we've got the alert slider on the side, love to see that, and around the front side, we have a very awesome display. So with this very bright 120 hertz, 6.82 inch display, it's awesome. It's got a resolution of 3168 by 1440, but in my use, when I was using this phone, most of the time I just had it on the lower resolution option in the settings. So that's going to obviously factor into my battery life and usage, so keep that in mind as we're going forward. Anyway, about that display, I absolutely love it. It's vivid, it's bright, the colors look great. I'm not a fan of the curved edge. I like it in looks, like visually, but in practice, I just would rather have a flat display. And overall, from like a surface level view of this phone, there's really not a lot to talk about. I mean, there's not a lot of fancy bells and whistles. It's pretty straightforward. I love the green color scheme here. It just looks really nice. But overall, it is what it is, and I'm perfectly happy with that. It suited my needs just fine. Now, a lot of what I look forward to when using a phone over a long period of time is just the little quirks and things that you discover in the software that makes a difference in how you use the phone. But I mean, really, OnePlus has such a squeaky clean software experience. And really, I wish that I could say that software updates added a lot of enhancements to the software here and brought in new features or anything like that, but I mean, really not much has changed since day one on this phone. It's just been solid, and you can see that as a good thing or a bad thing. I just see it kind of neutral, like, well, they haven't added any new features, but they've kept it running solid, which I really can't complain about because this thing is an absolute performance beast. I mean, obviously it should be, given that this model has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM in the 512 gigabytes of storage that we have here, and a massive 5400 milliamp hour battery inside. Oddly though, one thing that I definitely expected to hit this phone at some point, which never did, is like AI features. Like, every phone in 2024 is just clouded and crammed with AI features, and this phone has none. Like, they just don't care. They're just like, AI. It's kind of refreshing, to be honest. I mean, AI stuff is cool, and there's a lot of really fun features that you can do with it in other phones that are out there, but I just kind of thought it was cool that that wasn't something that I had to worry about dealing with on my day-to-day with the OnePlus 12. But as I said, software updates didn't really bring anything new to this phone, which is disappointing in a category that we'll talk about in a little bit, but overall, I think that it's just been really solid. I mean, this thing zips through pretty much anything, as it should, right? Real quick though, if you're looking for a portable, high-tech, and practical power bank that packs 250 watt fast charging, 170 watt recharging, a capacity of 27,650 milliamp hours, and it's airline safe, the Anker Prime power bank is definitely for you, and a big shout out to them for sponsoring this video. The Anker Prime 27,650 milliamp hour power bank packs multi-device fast charging. It's pretty awesome. We have 2 USB Type-C ports and 1 USB Type-A port to deliver up to 250 watts of power and boost your M2 Pro 16-inch MacBook Pro up to 50% in 28 minutes. Along with that, there's an app that you can use to locate the power bank with sound alerts. You can access real-time stats and optimize the battery life with smart charging. And the cool thing is, this is like the size of a soda can. Like, it's super portable for what it packs inside. It's great because it's under 100 watt hours, which means that you can bring it on an airplane, so it is TSA approved, all good there. And as I mentioned, we do have 170 watt recharging, which is great because you can replenish this bad boy in about 37 minutes via the USB Type-C ports. And if all that wasn't awesome enough, there's actually a base for this as well, which is really cool. The Anker 100 watt charging base for the Anker Prime power bank is really cool because it uses pogo pins on the bottom of the power bank here, and it magnetically adheres to the base, allowing you to recharge just like that. And since the ports on the top are not available available while this thing is charging. There are actually 2 USB Type-C ports on the side of the base and 1 USB Type-A port with a total output of 100 watts shared across those 3 USB ports and the pogo pins on the bottom. All in all, I think that the Anker Prime power bank here is pretty awesome. I mean, it can recharge up to 250 watts worth of stuff from the 3 ports on the top. It can recharge my MacBook Pro, which is amazing. And if you want to find out more information for yourself or pick one of these up, definitely check out the links down below in the description and you can find out more info there. Thanks again to Anker for sponsoring this video. All right, so now let's talk about software updates. Or, well, how they impacted the camera since this thing came out. And sad to say that there hasn't been any software updates that improved the performance of this camera. And I feel like that is a common theme for me. I feel like I'm often waiting for a camera update to refresh a OnePlus device's cameras, and it just doesn't happen. At least not to the extent that I wish it would. All right, so with the OnePlus 12, we have a 50 megapixel main sensor. We have a 64 megapixel telephoto lens with up to 3 times optical zoom and up to 6 times in sensor zoom. And then we have a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera. Now, let me tell you, this camera is pretty good. Like, it can take some great photos under the right conditions. Don't get me wrong here. The photos that I've taken on this are awesome. And I really think that once everything is said and done, you post it on social media, this and that, nobody's gonna be pixel peeping your photos from the OnePlus 12. It looks great. Where it starts to fall apart is when we get to lower lighting scenarios, and that is probably the biggest downfall of the OnePlus 12 here. And really, even the low light photos aren't bad. Like, I'm not saying that this has a bad camera. I just think that after this much time, there should have been a little more effort put into the camera updates. But I do think it takes great photos, and if you want to see full resolution photos of the ones that I captured on the OnePlus 12, I will leave a link for you down in the description. One thing I do want to add about the camera that's kind of weird, if you want to take photos in like full resolution from the sensor, you have to go to the more section in the camera and then go to high res mode, which allows you to take photos, but it's just kind of a dumbed down version of the camera, and I wish that there was a better way to utilize more of the camera controls than just switching to this very basic mode, but I don't know. Oh, and as for the front-facing camera, it's 32 megapixels and takes pretty good selfies. Now, probably the most important thing with a smartphone is how long it will last in the field in your everyday life. I am happy to say that the 5400 milliamp hours inside of the OnePlus 12 are just absolutely bonkers with battery life. Like, literally, this thing doesn't even dip below 100% for like the first 30 to 45 minutes of using it throughout the day. This is a 2-day phone, and to be quite honest, if this phone isn't going to last your entire day, in 12 minutes, you can fill this up from 0 to 50%, or 30 minutes, you can go all the way to 100%. So 80 watt charging, ridiculously fast. There's even 50 watt wireless charging if you need that. I mean, this phone just packs basically everything that you need in terms of like your run-of-the-mill, top performing smartphone. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that. Now, with that in mind, like I said, there is a lot of competition. I mean, hello, Pixel 9. Depends on what you favor in a smartphone. Like I said, the battery life on this thing, absolutely amazing. I think the software performance, absolutely amazing. The camera could use some work, but at the end of the day, I don't think that a lot of people are going to notice that. Does it pack a bunch of cool AI features? Heck no, it doesn't. I'm not knocking it for that. I like that it's just a very simple, basic thing. We haven't gotten a lot of updates to enhance this. Again, I'm okay with that. This thing does one job and it does it very well. It's a fast smartphone. And at this price point, I really don't think that you can argue with it. But if you want to find out more information about it, I will leave links in the description for you. Though, I will say that it's definitely worth considering picking this up used at this point, because you get a hefty discount and you're still getting a top-of-the-line 2024 flagship smartphone from OnePlus. So realistically, this charts at the top for some price to performance ratio, at least in my opinion, but I would love to know yours.